to quickly finish up here, we're going to compare two equations to one another. We're going to compare y equals 3x plus 7 and y equals 3x minus 8. So what do you notice? Are those perpendicular to each other? They are definitely not, because they're actually parallel. Their slopes are the same. So if they're parallel, they're not perpendicular to each other. So no, they're not opposite reciprocals. What about y equals positive 2/3 x minus 2 and y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 1? Are those perpendicular? Yes, they are. 2/3 versus negative 3 over 2. Those are going to be perpendicular slopes. Opposites, because one is positive, one is negative, and reciprocals, because 2 over 3 flipped becomes 3 over 2. So yes, these are perpendicular. So let's create an equation that would be perpendicular to this one right here. Think about this for a second. My slope here, what's the slope of that equation? Hopefully you can just pull it right out, positive 2. So if we want to have a perpendicular line, what is our new slope going to be? Our new slope needs to be negative, because this one was positive. The 2 was positive. So I know my new line needs to be negative. And then the reciprocal of 2, you might not remember this, but 2 is really 2 over 1. So the reciprocal of 2 is actually 1/2. So negative 1/2 is my slope. So I can create any equation as long as my equation has negative 1/2 x plus anything. I don't care what this is. I'll just say 9. It can be any number we want. So negative 1/2 x plus 9, or maybe y equals negative 1/2 x minus 7. I don't care what it is. Those are perpendicular. Okay, create one more with your neighbor and see if you can find a line that is perpendicular. Just create it, just anything you want. What about lines that are not perpendicular? So not perpendicular, this slope right here, our slope value is 5. So if our slope value is 5, anything that's not perpendicular pretty much can be any slope we want that's not the opposite reciprocal of 5. So basically, we could say anything. We just, as long as our slope is not, so if we don't want it to be perpendicular, we don't want it to be perpendicular, not perpendicular, then basically our slope cannot equal, that's what that sign means, cannot equal negative 1/5. As long as our slope is not negative 1/5, we're good to go. So anything, y equals 3x plus 1. That's fine. No problem at all. That's no problem at all. Y equals negative 9x minus 8. Anything you want. Create one more with your neighbor. Anything you want. So to finish this out, we're going to have very similar steps to what we had last class as well. These are almost carbon copies of each other. Very similar. So take your half sheet, and on that half sheet, let's start to create our steps. The first one is very similar but slightly different. We need to identify our new slope. But our new slope isn't the same as it was before. Now our new slope is the opposite reciprocal of the given equation. It's going to be the opposite reciprocal. Last time parallel lines were the same, but now, since we're perpendicular, we're going to be opposite reciprocals. The rest of these are pretty much the same. Plug in blank equals blank times blank plus b. Plug in your new m. Plug in your x and y from the point, just like we've been practicing. And then from there, go ahead and solve for b. Solve for whatever your b value is. And then last but not least, once you've solved for b, whoops, mistake there. Once you've solved for b, rewrite the new equation. So take a minute, press pause, and write down those 4 steps. They're very similar to last class, except really for step 1, because our slope isn't the same anymore. All right, so just like last time, I'm going to do a practice problem with you guys and then let you try the rest on your own. So we want to be perpendicular to that right there. So here's the deal. My original slope is 1/8. what is my new slope going to be? First of all, this is a positive 1 over 8, so my new slope has to be negative. That's the opposite part. And then the reciprocal of 1 over 8, if we flip it, it becomes simply 8 over 1, which is 8. Negative 8. There's my slope. Now I do blank equals blank. Blank equals blank plus times blank plus b. Let's start plugging in my numbers. We just found my slope, so I'll write that one in, negative 8. And remember, I've given you a point. This is your y value right there, so that's negative 5. And this is your x value, that's positive 1. Simplify. Let's simplify a little bit. Negative 5 equals really negative 8, because negative 8 times 1 is still negative 8, plus b. Now I'm going to solve for b, so I solve for b by adding 8 to both sides. So if I add 8 to both sides, I'm left with b equals 3. So finish us off here. What is our actual equation? Our actual equation is y equals my new slope, this one, negative 8, x plus my b value, positive 3 that I found right here. There you go, guys. That's how this works. We find our new slope. We use blank equals blank times blank plus b to solve for b, and we just rewrite our new equation. So with your neighbors, I want you to try these last 3 problems and check them with each other, check them with your teacher, and keep working hard. Do not give up on this. Please make sure you're doing well, and keep working hard. Best of luck to you guys. Come see if you need anything.